Welcome in, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming championship matchup against UNLV and a little bit about the controversy that's hit Bronco Nation this week with Madsen being declared the starter over Cutforth going into the game. You know, thinking back about 3 weeks ago, nobody would have ever questioned this, and Cutforth has been doing pretty good, and now it's a little bit of a discussion. We have some people on the Madsen side saying it's the right choice, and some people saying that Cutforth should still be starting. They're not confident that Madsen is looking 100%. We saw some practice videos where he was kind of limping a little bit, and Cutforth has looked really good. You know, he's improved a lot, and a lot of people consider him to be the hot hand right now. Personally, I think there's sides to both of it. I don't necessarily think they made a bad choice by going with Madsen, but I wouldn't have been scared if they had started Cutforth either. You know, Madsen has more experience overall, and he's already won against UNLV multiple times. I know last year was kind of a completely different team at UNLV than what we've seen this year. I mean, they have 70 new players this year and new coaches. So it's kind of unfair to say he beat UNLV last year, so he can do it this year. I think it's a different conversation there. But he did already beat UNLV once this year. And I think he's already seen their defense, although I will say the defense has improved since he's last seen them. My biggest concern is he's been throwing low and he's been throwing behind a lot this year. A lot of people say that was due to his injury. Will it be better now that supposedly the injury is healed? I guess we'll find out. But the other thing that concerns me is he's going to be a little bit rusty coming into this. He hasn't played for a couple months, and now he has 4 days of practice to get back into the swing of things, get back up to game speed, and bring us into a championship matchup. That could be a little bit scary. Cutforth, on the other hand, is kind of warmed up, ready to go. He's been showing amazing growth week to week. In general, he has a stronger arm than Madsen. He can throw further. However, he also tends to overthrow his guys with that arm. He shoots a little bit high. I don't know if he's trying to high point them and just overshoots it or what, but that's kind of the other side. You know, Maddox throws low and behind people this year, and Cutforth throws a little bit high. However, Cutforth every single week has improved in his deficiencies, while Maddox throughout the year, we haven't really seen that. If anything, we've almost seen a regression. Once again, is that due to the injury getting worse? Who knows? The other thing that I will mention about Cutforth is when he first started, he had a pressure awareness problem. He could not identify pressure, and when he did, he didn't know what to do with himself. And the play was pretty much over as soon as he recognized the pressure was there. That looks so much better. It's night and day different. We went over this on our last video and went over some plays that show how drastically different that looks now. So I don't think that's as much of a concern for me right now. The biggest thing is, I think, the overthrows. Now, if he were to play again this week, would those overthrows look better? I will say that each game, those overthrows have gotten better and better. He's had less of them. His deeper throws, which is where he's least accurate, have been more and more on point. So, you know, I wouldn't feel bad going with Cutforth in this instance, but I totally see why they chose Madsen, and I'm trying to have confidence that he's going to come out and be able to lead us to victory in this one. I think the main thing that scares me is the rust. And the other thing to think about in this is Cutforth has a much stronger arm, right? When he throws his bullet passes, he throws them hard. And I think the wide receivers have spent the last 4 weeks adjusting to that, getting used to those harder passes and learning how to catch in that style and kind of the timing of it. And now we're switching right back to Madsen, who floats the ball a little bit more into him. And I just think it's going to take them some time to adjust too. Are these 4 days in practice going to be enough for them to adjust to that? I'm not 100% sure. And I'm kind of worried that when Madsen does throw accurately, the wide receivers, we might see more drops from them because of this change in pace. So it throws a little bit of an extra wrench into it. Now, wide receiver drops are going to play a really big part in this game. If we see the wide receivers dropping passes, especially on clutch plays, we're probably not going to win it. Like, we need everybody to be catching the ball. When they get the ball in their hands, they need to come down with it. And that's something that's going to be crucial in this. UNLV, as we'll look at here in one moment, has a very, very good pass defense. And it's something that, like I said, when Madsen is able to get it in there, we need to catch it. And then our running backs need to be doing what they've been doing in the last few weeks. They need to utilize the outside. There's times when they try to shoot a gap in the middle and the gap is not there. At the beginning of the year, they would run right into that wall of linemen and try to power through it and not get very many yards or any. And lately, we've been seeing them see that the gap's not there and then bounce to the outside. That's something that we need to see in this game. UNLV is very good at closing the gaps, and if the gap's not there, don't try to take it. They started doing this more against Colorado, and we saw it a lot in the last game against Utah, where they bounced to the outside, and it's very, very effective. It's made a huge difference, so they need to keep that up. So going to that UNLV strong pass defense, we're going to take a quick look at a shot right here from them. So Hawaii's going for a pass here. He hikes the ball. We have a 3-man rush. So most of their guys are dropping back into coverage to protect. They kind of foresaw that this was going to be a pass play. We have a couple guys here kind of blocking their guy in almost like a man type coverage while the 3 linebackers are in a zone. And then we've got 2 more safeties back there. Now we can see the cornerbacks after that initial contact drop into their zone. So this is an overall zone defense. The safeties do an amazing job. The wide receivers get over the top of the first guys, but the safety comes in, tips the ball for the breakup, and the other one comes in for the interception. Now, overall, this is guys playing good zone coverage. I mean, the cornerbacks make contact to slow down the route. Everybody gets in their zone pretty effectively, and he passes right over the zones as a good QB would do. And those safeties do their job and come in quickly to break it up. And the last one comes in with an amazing interception. So this is just one example of what we can see from UNLV. They have really, really good pass defense. So it's something that, like I said, our wide receivers need to be on point this game. When they do get the ball, they need to catch it. If they're tipping it, they may come up with interceptions. It's something that UNLV has kind of been known for this year. And then on the other side, they're actually very good at run defense as well. So we're going to take a quick look at a run play, once again from the Hawaii game. He snaps the ball. Now this is a 4th and short situation, right? 4th and 1. So they pretty much know they're going to be running it. In fact, from the beginning, they have their 3 backs, kind of probably tight end blockers, fullbacks, that kind of thing, to block for this guy. Everybody steps up to close these gaps, and it's something that they do quite well, is closing these gaps. He tries to find the gap in the middle. The guy closes it down, and they aren't able to get the first. Now, another thing I want to point out is right here, like I was talking about, if the gap is not there, don't try to take it. We see he tries to take this middle gap, and we've got a guy coming in to block that gap, and he's just going to try to run right through him. However, once again, if you look to the outside, he's got a wide blocked lane that he could follow. So don't try to run up the middle gap if it's not there. Look for gaps on the outside. It's something that can really be an advantage and something that we've started to do really well. In this play, for example, they would have gotten the first if he had done that. We're going to look at another one where they really stack the box. You can see here, the main thing I want to point out here is the way that they collapse in. So we've got our linebackers. We've got our running back. As soon as he turns to hand it off, all the linebackers start moving up. And you can see how difficult this path is for this guy right now. They do a great job of closing up the running lane. The running back still gets good yardage on this, but what I want you guys to look at is just how effectively they move up into the box to close up all those gaps. They do a good job of getting just lots of guys in the area where it's like you're going to have to break a couple tackles for you to get those yardages. And I could foresee this being an issue. It's something that Boise State needs to be thinking about. They have very good rush defense. Really, their defense all around is very good. So they need to be paying attention to this. Now, this does present a little bit of an opportunity for us in play actions. We see that as soon as they see the handoff, the linebackers move up very well. We can utilize that. When they move up to close that box, we can give them a nice little short toss right over the top of the linebackers to an open Caples or Marshall or someone like that. So it's something that we can utilize. That's one of the things I try to look for when I'm looking at film is how can we use their strengths against them? Just like we saw with San Diego, there was a big opportunity to take advantage of them in play actions and late running back draws. And Boise really didn't do either of those, and it came to bite them in the butt. Now, I also want to point out that they have a really good way of bringing pressure on the quarterback. We can see here they've got a linebacker. It looks like they're about to bring everybody, a full man blitz, right? This linebacker drops back last minute to get into zone. So does the second one. And it kind of throws off everybody's gaps and allows this guy in the middle to get right past. So the one guy here that is lined up to burst right through this gap, pretty much everybody else on the line is lined up, right? We have a second linebacker here to pull this center over to the right. And the center, as you can see, when he snaps, he looks to the right and this guy backs up. And at that point, it's a little late and this linebacker is able to get right through and collapse the pressure. And they're able to bring this quarterback down. Now we're going to switch gears here and look at the defense, our defense, and how we can limit UNLV's offense. The first thing that UNLV has a strength on for their offensive side is Calandria, their quarterback. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the conference this year. He's an amazing scrambling quarterback, and it's one area with those QB runs where Boise has had weaknesses this year. I feel like they've kind of patched that up throughout the year. It's looking better. Like Bryson Barnes, for instance, was another great running quarterback, and we were able to limit him fairly well. But I will say in that game, when Bryson ran, he would get big yards. I was kind of surprised they didn't do that more. So it's something we need to be looking out for. I have a feeling they're going to be doing that a lot. So we're going to take a couple examples of his QB runs and where he can really take advantage of us. So this here's a play from the Nevada game, and one that I think exemplifies how they use Calandria. This is a fake handoff, and then he whips to the other side and runs the ball. And you can see, like, right from the beginning here, it's not like he has a wide open field, right? It's a good play scheme. And it buys him just enough time with this first guy who follows the running back to kind of get him around him and be able to escape that tackle. But there's still a lot of guys he has to escape. And you'll see how well he does at doing this. He's able to find all of those little gaps, make guys miss, and get the touchdown. And this is something he does very, very well. We see it over and over again from Calandria. Once again, fakes the handoff, breaks the outside, breaks a tackle there, gets through two guys here, and gets the touchdown. Once again, if we look at this, there are a lot of guys here with potential to stop him, and yet he gets through all of them. And this is just something that we see a lot from Calandria. It's not like this is a one-off play. And Boise State has had an issue with tackling this year. When Calandria runs, we need to lay him out. We need to tackle him, bring him down as quickly as we possibly can. Because if he makes just one or two guys miss, he's going to take it to the house. He can also throw very, very well. So here's a play that shows his arm precision. He takes the snap, he's got a guy in motion, and that draws this DB over to the side. Fakes the handoff. He starts running, and we can see the linebackers are already moving with him, expecting him to possibly run. And he slots it on the run right in to where it needs to be for a touchdown. And you can see here, this guy has a little bit of space, but really not a ton of space. The DB was right behind him, and he's able to get it in there. So that's one example of it. Let's look at another one here. Takes the snap, goes on the run, loads up, and unleashes it right to where it needs to be. We've got a defender right there, and yet he's able to slot it in to get it right into his guy's hands. This shows exactly how precise he can be with his passing. You know, he has not just great legs, but also a really great arm. So Calandria is a real threat in this game. Calandria is, I think, the first guy that we need to limit. I think our DBs have been pretty strong this year. They're going to give up a couple plays just because they're very skilled. But I think if we can overall stop Calandria from executing, it's going to be a win for us. DBs need to lock down their best receivers. Some of their receivers are very, very good. So we need to designate those guys and make sure that they are locked down and not able to compete. We did pretty good on this last game against them, and so we just need to do it again. And I think we also need to put some pressure on Calandria. When he rolls out, like in the play we just saw, we need to crash and we need to make him feel a little bit uncomfortable so that he has to try to rush those throws in a little bit. And between that and our DBs making good coverage, I think we can stop him. Effective tackling is going to be key in this, not just with Calandria, but they have really great running backs as well. The main one that I'm worried about is Jet Thomas. They have some other really good ones as well, but Jet Thomas is very, very good. So let's take a couple of looks at some of his plays and what he's capable of doing. So here's the first one I want to look at. He hands it off. You can see he finds some great gaps. Man, the way that he is patient and waits for the gaps to open up here. He does some nice little jump cuts, follows his blockers, breaks a tackle, and then he's off to the races. So once again, he's somebody that's naturally already hard to tackle. And our guys have had a little bit of struggling with that this year. Now, last game, we were actually able to limit him very, very effectively. And that was one thing that helped us to win that game, is they weren't able to take advantage of the run game like they normally do. So we need to continue that in this game. Let's look at one more from him. Now, this is an interesting look. This is kind of a wildcat formation, and it's something they do actually quite a lot. It's something we need to be looking out for, and it's a way that they can get kind of tricky with Calandria and Jet Thomas and their other running backs. They can pull Calandria around in a kind of sweeping pattern and give him the ball. He can pass it from there. He can throw it from there. It really adds a lot of confusion. And it's something that I fully expect them to utilize. But once again, look at all these tackles he's getting through, these narrow gaps that he's able to slip through. So we need to be effective at tackling Jet Thomas. So those are a couple of the keys to success that I found. I know we've played these guys before, but honestly, they are a little bit of a different team now than what we saw prior. That Wildcat formation is something that they could really take advantage of us on. When they pull Calandria on a sweep from the wide receiver position, they will fake a toss to Calandria, and the running back will take it the same way he came from, or they'll toss it to Calandria, and from there he can run it himself, or he can stop and pass it. So it adds a lot of complexity to a single play call, and I think it's something that they're definitely going to be utilizing against us. I'm sure that the Broncos are preparing for that this week. I'm really curious to hear what your guys' opinions are on the Madsen Cutforth controversy. Do you guys think the coaches are making the right choice by playing Madsen, or do you think they should have stayed with Cutforth and stayed with the hot hand, as you will? Personally, I think they probably went with the right decision going with Madsen. However, like I said, I would not be scared to play Cutforth. It kind of worries me that Madsen may come off a little bit rusty. The wide receivers haven't fully adjusted back to his throwing speed and timing from playing with Cutforth for the last few games. These are just some concerns that really stand out to me. And I think if they come out and we start seeing Madsen struggling, they should not be scared to throw in Cutforth. But honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think they're going to put together two game plans, one for Cutforth and one for Madsen. And I don't think Cutforth's game plan is going to look the same as Madsen's. So it's not like they can just stick Cutforth into the same game plan. So yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one, I stand by their decision to go with Madsen. I know why they did it. Overall, he has better stats throughout the year. He's a great, capable quarterback, able to hold down the offense. But in the videos, we saw him limping a little bit. I think he's going to be rusty, and I'm just hoping he's not still held back by that injury. If we start seeing him throw low and behind people, I'm going to, for one, be a little bit frustrated. But hopefully we don't see that happen and we come away with a really great victory. So hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll see you guys on game day.